Good evening, I'm Neville Choi, and welcome to Tok Piksa. Tonight we review the recently concluded APEC Forum in Bali, Indonesia. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, is a group of 21 Pacific Rim member economies. The forum's main agenda is to promote free trade and economic cooperation throughout the Asia-Pacific region. Established in 1989, the forum was in response to growing interdependence of Asia-Pacific economies and the rising of regional trade blocs in other parts of the world. Annual APEC economic leaders meetings are attended by the heads of government of all 21 APEC members, and the location of the meeting rotates annually amongst member countries. Papua New Guinea signed up to APEC in 1993. Since then, we have gained increased attention and status with our neighbors who have strong voices in the forum. Recent developments in bilateral relationships with Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia and America have resulted in strong votes of support for PNG from these countries. Our biggest win at this year's forum, hosting APEC in 2018. With all our preparations for the 2015 Pacific Games in full swing, 2018's APEC is now a real goal to work towards. Our eagerness to win this bid has, however, come at some cost. As a signatory to APEC's BOGO Goals undertaking, which opens borders to stronger business transactions between member countries, PNG stands to lose momentum in its small to medium enterprises sector push. Specifically, a drop of 1 million kina in tax revenues every year. The lowering of our trade borders will also see more impediments to local SME startups, forcing them to compete with cheaper imports from foreign member countries.
We make about 1 million kina a year from duty that we charge on goods that come into our country. If we remove the barriers, firstly, we lose 1 million kina in internal revenue straight away, which will mean a big hole in our budget. That's number one. The second thing, it means all our local industries will not be able to compete with goods from other countries which are able to be produced far cheaper than PNG and can be sent to PNG at far less cost.
You're watching Tok Piksa. When we come back, Bernadette Effie looks at PNG's run to securing APEC 2018. Bernadette Effie continues her report on APEC outcomes and the work on the local front towards 2018.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill arrived in Bali last Saturday. He was accompanied by his wife and Enga Governor Peter Ipatas.
Wave your hand. Yes, nice. Thank you. It's a nice picture.
Foreign Affairs Minister Rimbing Pato and Trade, Commerce and Industry Minister Richard Maru arrived earlier for the APEC ministerial meetings, met the Prime Ministerial delegation upon arrival. The APEC leaders meeting was held at the Sofitel Hotel for 2 days. The leaders held dialogue with the APEC Business Advisory Committee or ABAC members. Mr. O'Neill held bilateral meetings on the periphery of the APEC summit with Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia and Vietnam. With Australia, he met and talked with the Australian Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, for the first time. They talked about the issue on Ok Tedi and Manus, just to name a few. On Ok Tedi, he told Mr. Abbott that government's takeover of the mine was in the best interest of the people of Papua New Guinea and the Western Province.
Ok Tedi issue was not brought up at all, and I think This matter is in the mindset of only one person, that is Mekere Morauta, who represents BHP, who represents foreign interest in that particular board of sustainable. He represents no one in Papua New Guinea. He's constantly going out to the press, putting public advertisement. Papua New Guineans are sick and tired of listening to him. His record as Prime Minister is very clear. He privatized PNGBC against Papua New Guineans' will and Papua New Guineans' desire to privatize that. He legislated against Papua New Guineans on the environmental damage on Fly River. He gave control under the disguise of giving it to Papua New Guineans and gifting Oktedi to Papua New Guineans. He gave control back to BHP on Oktedi. So Papua New Guineans are not going to be fooled by this kind of nonsense that Semekere continues to mislead our people on. And I think it is only in his mindset. The Australian government has got no problem with that. They know that this is a mine that is owned by the people of Papua New Guinea. The mining lease has expired, so we are now taking ownership of that mine ourselves. No foreign investor is being affected by this particular decision. Papua New Guineans need financial security. Our people need financial security, and this is an opportunity for us to do so. So let no person blind our vision before us. I think it's important that Papua New Guineans now step up. The rest of the world is now looking at us.
On the Manus deal, Mr. Abbott said his government will honor all the commitments made by the Rudd government. Similar talks were held by the two foreign ministers, Julie Bishop and Rimbing Pato as well. Australia expressed concerns on Oktedi that the actions of government would send a negative signal to investors. Mr. Pato, on the other hand, said there is nothing to worry about because the takeover of the mine is a win-win situation for both investors and resource owners.
Well, I think it was based on some misconception because of the way in which the media was reporting it. And what I did say to her is that as a partner of Papua New Guinea and a long-term friend, it's the duty of Australia and PNG together to get the correct message out there. In this case, the fundamentals haven't worked, the people have not benefited. Through the new arrangement, we'll make sure that the people will benefit, that the lease in respect of the Oktedi mine has expired anyway, and so we're entitled to give the lease to any company or any developer or any investor, and as such we are free to do what we have done. Therefore, if there's any misconception, let's get the facts out to the people. Let's tell them that the government's position is this, and the court has ruled, and the fundamentals of the existing structure, that trust for and on behalf of the interests of the people of the Western Province has not worked. So the government is taking that position on behalf of the people. So the message has to be put to the Australian people and the public at large that PNG is clearly an investment destination, and the rule of law prevails here, as the court has ruled in this particular case.
Neil also met with his New Zealand counterpart, Prime Minister John Key, at the Conrad Hotel, where they discussed issues of mutual interest to both countries. New Zealand, like Australia, always had a close relationship with PNG, especially with the role it played in the restoration of peace and normalcy on the island of Bougainville immediately after the crisis. But PNG focused more on strengthening ties with Asia's growing economies, Indonesia, Vietnam and Thailand, following its go-ahead by members of the APEC to host the 2018 APEC meeting in Port Moresby. Foreign Affairs Minister Rimbing Pato and his Indonesian counterpart, Dr. Mati Natalegawa, signed the Action Plan Agreement. This now enables various agreements signed between the two countries in June this year to be implemented immediately. Mr. O'Neill and Indonesian President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono were present to witness this event. Mr. O'Neill said PNG's involvement with Indonesia does not end on economic, social and infrastructural agreements, but on humanitarian grounds as well, especially on the part of the West Papuans. On the topic of tariffs, Minister for Trade, Commerce and Industry Richard Maru talked strongly about the other side of the coin.
The second thing it means all our local industries will not be able to compete with goods from other countries which are able to be produced far cheaper than PNG and can be sent to PNG at far less cost than we can even produce it. For example, if we open up the market and remove duty on things like Coca-Cola, you'll find that Coca-Cola from Singapore will be far cheaper than Coca-Cola we even make in Port Moresby. Therefore, all the employees of Coca-Cola will lose their jobs. Chicken from Australia we know it's far cheaper than chicken we can even produce in PNG. So we will lose New Guinea table beds and 3,000 jobs will go. So the danger for Papua New Guinea when it joins countries like APEC, and we are pushing towards an agenda like this, is very big, and the multiplier effect of meeting all the requirements they have under the BOGA goals, which we must achieve by 2020, is quite frightening, to be very honest with you.
But the Prime Minister is adamant all will work out for PNG.
Of course, the World Trade Organization discussions are continuing. There's a concern that it might fail, and of course, as a result of that, allow countries to go back into protecting their own economies and trying to not implement the liberalization of tariffs in many of those economies, which will then be detrimental to many economies growing. Now, there's a concern that it might fail, and of course, as a result of that, allow countries to go back into protecting their own economies and trying to not implement the liberalization of tariffs in many of those economies, which will then be detrimental to many economies growing. Now, of course, we have that similar concerns for our emerging economy in our own country. But one thing that we have to do as a country is to improve on the efficiencies of the economy, which will enable us to become more competitive. You see, we are trying to protect our economy of not reducing the tariffs, trying to maintain our economy as a sheltered economy. But that is a short-term benefit to our economy and our people. I think in our long term we must improve on the quality of the delivery and infrastructure and of course the efficiencies that we as a government need to do in private sector.
The latest inclusions in the PNG bilateral ties include Vietnam and Thailand. The Prime Minister said these two countries have the best agricultural practices that PNG can adopt. Bilateral ties with these two will not only benefit our agriculture and other resource sectors, but it will book a place for PNG in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN.